Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
And we're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we'll be looking at How to Fix It, Star Trek 2009.
Which, quite honestly, I thought it was good.
Yeah, actually, this isn't going to be like How to Fix It with Star Wars prequels, where we, take everything apart and start from scratch.
Or Evangelion, where
or
we
Ava.
where we take everything apart and start from scratch.
Well, Ava, was a lot better than Star Wars prequels, but just didn't, add up all of its plot arcs by the end.
It made no goddamn sense.
Yeah, okay. But it had some great, just imagery and whatever. All right, but I'm not
Yes,
gonna do
it had a lot of great imagery that made no goddamn sense.
All right. So we're at Star Trek 2009, which, first off, I would kind of like it to be have a title. Star Trek Origins, maybe, if you're doing a reboot, I get it. The marketing department just wanted to plain old Star Trek so no one would be spooked, but whatever. Fans like to have nomenclature,
Yeah.
We like to have words for things.
Yeah, and it's always hard when you have something that's just named something, and then later there get to be this whole thing. Which Star Trek movie are you talking about?
Yeah.
Heck, even the first one, which we just saw.
Oh my God.
Oh, here's a review of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which even that is a stupid name. At least it's a name.
Yeah, it's true. It is a name.
It was so boring. We were literally cheering when anything happened.
But yeah, so we had seen the reviews on Star Trek 1, and we know it's a very boring movie. We should watch it anyway because it's historically significant. And then
you should notice this. This is something you should keep in mind whenever we review a movie.
Yeah.
We thought, what the hell? Let's watch Star Trek 1. We have very bad judgment.
The trouble is, if a movie is bad in a regular sense, like a non-boring sense, we can still make fun of it, like we did with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
This is honestly...
Or just the last... You know what I mean? The live-action Last Airbender.
This is honestly the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Because at least a bad movie, I could make fun of that.
It's like the least enjoyable movie. Because some movies are technically worse, but more enjoyable because you can make fun of it, like you're saying.
Or pick it apart. Heck, I enjoyed Equestrian Girls more because at least I got to get angry, and I got to pick apart all the ways it was stupid.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that was really... There was some things that were definitely factually wrong, but it's Star Trek. There's going to be tons of stuff that's factually wrong. But
you just spent so much time staring at the screen. I find that boredom is sticky. And I got into this boredom coma. Something exciting would happen, but all the boredom from the last hour was still sort of in your system, and you couldn't get really excited. So then we had to go watch The Daily Show and the Colbert Report just to come out of the coma. And then we're let's not actually do a review of Star Trek: The Motion Picture because we would have nothing to say. It was boring. So here we go for Star Trek 2009.
Here's my opinion. If you want to watch the motion picture, don't watch it. Just skip straight to Wrath of Khan. It is a zillion times better.
And you don't need to... It's not you need to know anything from this storyline. Nothing at all applies to Wrath of Khan. Really.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But anyways, 2009.
So Star Trek 2009, when they brought it back, and as Plinkett said, they hypercharged everything.
I tried watching Plinkett. I could not... His voice just...
You didn't like it?
I just could not... His voice, it just sounded so lackluster. Not lackluster, just... It lacked energy.
Yeah.
It just sounded... It sounded like he was trying... It sounded like Wilford Brimley trying to give a review. I didn't like this movie. Just like I don't like my diabetes. Nothing against Mr. Plinkett. You've been doing this. You're a lot more successful than us.
It's just not your personal taste.
It's not my cup of tea.
I don't particularly like when he goes super dark and is I have people I've kidnapped in my basement. Here are their bones. I'm yeah, just get me to the actual review, please. Which is actually highly intelligent when he gets to the review. But okay, so back to our main subject. 4 minutes 10 seconds in.
Okay, Star Trek 2009. Okay, the first change I would make, they removed a bunch of stuff from the directors from the original version. One, including why it took Nero so long to actually get to his whole revenge thing. See, in the original version, the reason why he didn't just go on and start nuking the shit out of Vulcan and the United Federation of Planets after blowing up the
ship that Kirk Stab was on.
Yeah. The reason he didn't do that is because immediately after he was apprehended by a Klingon war fleet who captured the ship and took everyone aboard prisoner.
Yeah. That was in the novelization or comics or something.
And there were supposed to be scenes of him the scene where Uhura says, I got transmissions from the Klingons, and they got things going on. There was the fleet was destroyed. That was supposed to be the scene about Nero breaking out of the Klingon prison and freeing his crew.
Uh-huh.
And part of that was it slightly unhinged him more than, losing his homeworld already was.
Okay, yeah.
So, make sure, re-include that. Also, the introduction, there was also a prequel comic strip that explained everything about Nero's character. Includes some of that in the backstory.
Might have been nice.
Well, his story is he actually supported Spock in the plan to save Romulus. And he was supporting Spock all the way, right up until he walked into the doors of the Science Council. And then they said, fuck the Romulans, and he was so betrayed by the Vulcans and everyone who supported the Vulcans that he...
Yeah, how did that work exactly? Because Spock did go off to save the planet, but I guess he got there late. He got there late. Yeah, well, how did that happen? I mean, it was confusing to me how a star could explode with so little warning. These things are supposed to take at least 1 million years of transition phase or something like that.
This is probably the biggest problem of 2009. There's a lot of expanded universe stuff that causes the rest of it to make sense, and by the time that occurs, no one wants to hear about it.
Yeah.
But what really happened was, yes, the star exploded unexpectedly, and the explosion was much larger than it was originally supposed to be. Star Trek Online later reveals that this was the work of the Iconians.
Oh, who are they?
They're this extremely ancient, nearly extinct precursor species to half the quadrants of the galaxy.
Okay.
Who had the ability to transport themselves over vast distances in an instant.
Oh, so they had the transwarp before we had transwarp, basically.
Much more advanced than that. They could select any location in the galaxy and walk through a doorway, and they'd be there.
Oh, portal network thing. Cool.
Yeah, it would. Their gateways appeared precisely twice in the series. Once when the homeworld of Iconia was discovered near the Romulan border, so we had to blow up that outpost so the Romulans wouldn't get the ability to, just shove antimatter through into Starfleet Command anytime they wanted.
That would suck.
And the second time when it was Iconian outpost was captured in the Gamma Quadrant by Rogue Jem'Hadar, and they had to blow that up so that the Jem'Hadar couldn't just shove antimatter through into Starfleet Command.
Okay, so the Iconians decided they hate the Romulans for some reason?
No. The Iconians were gone for many years. Now, keep in mind, I'm taking this from several different sources, and I am not a player of Star Trek Online.
Okay.
This is all based on my rather patchy memory.
Okay.
And the Iconians kind of want to be in charge of the galaxy again.
Okay.
And so they tried to foment war, to create war amongst the various races of the galaxy to try to make things ideal so they can just walk in and conquer everyone.
Okay.
And destabilizing that star and destroying Romulus through the Romulan Star Empire into chaos, creating little civil wars and stuff.
Okay, so basically it was all part of a giant plot that was never mentioned in the movie whatsoever.
Precisely.
Okay. I'm good at summarizing, apparently.
Yeah, but you miss the flavor, the essence.
I know, but I haven't read it at all. I had never heard of the Iconians until we just started recording.
But anyways.
All right, so let's back up and figure out kind of what you wanted to do with this movie. They're going to do a reboot. I think that's fine. People want to see the original characters, and we can't have the original actors forever now, can we?
Well, some of them are already dead.
Some of them are already dead.
DeForest Kelley died years ago.
I'm so glad he got to the cameo in the first episode of TNG, though. That was a really sweet moment.
And James Doohan, a.k.a. Scotty, died a few years back as well.
Yeah.
Plus a bunch of the original Klingons, Klingon bad guys, decided to just up and die. How inconsiderate of them.
Decided to... Anyway, we mourn everyone's loss.
Okay, well, they didn't decide. That makes it sound like they committed suicide. They just, old age. Bastards. How dare you die of old age? How dare you not discover immortality?
So as I was saying, they're looking to do a reboot. And the way they do it, though, is weird. Okay, so in the future, from the original series perspective...
in the Alpha universe,
a star blows up, and they go through a black hole thing because of red matter, and takes them back in time, and they end up killing Kirk's dad when he's just a baby, And that,
when Kirk is just a baby, not when his dad is just a baby.
No. They kill Kirk's dad when Kirk is a baby.
Okay, look, I know that doesn't seem necessary, but it's a time travel story, so we kind of have to explain that.
And this, like, changes the course of the galaxy, but not so much that we don't have different people crewing the Enterprise eventually. They all have to show up at the same place, right? But this is the thing. You technically just wiped out a huge chunk of Star Trek canon, right? Everything practically from the original series, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, it's all changed now. It didn't really happen.
Which is unfortunate because we could have had the opportunity to make sure that Enterprise never happened. Damn you, J.J. Abrams.
Right, so look,
damn you, Paramount. We could have gotten rid of Enterprise once and for all.
Enterprise wasn't as bad if you were a non-Trekkie. Because a lot of what they did was copy storylines from previous Trek shows. If you walk in blind, you're like, oh, that's reasonable, whatever. But anyway, or so I've been told. I haven't seen a lot of Enterprise, but I kind of liked what I saw. TNG, though, wins as far as I'm concerned.
DS9 for me. I'm a niner.
Yeah, nine is good. Nine's up there. Anyway, so look, guys, if you want to do a reboot and make it a different sort of universe, just make it a different universe. Let's just call it everything we've ever done in Star Trek is the Alphaverse or something, not the Alpha Quadrant. I'm just using a name here. And then this is new. This is the Betaverse,
not the Beta Quadrant.
And this is like a separate timeline. It has always been separate from the beginning of time, but it's a parallel world, so there's a lot of similarities, just by coincidence type of thing.
I don't know. I kind of liked that it was split off from the main timeline. Plus, it helped introduce why Starfleet is going to be different in this time. They're going to be much rougher around the edges.
Yeah, but they could still be rougher for their own reasons. If you want to do something with something in Star Trek with the fan base that's been going for this long and they're this passionate, you don't want to do anything that seems to say the previous stuff doesn't count, like it's been erased. That's just offensive. You know what I mean? Kind of. So my thought is, okay, look, there's just these two parallel universes, and what happens is that skip the star exploding. Okay, how about this? How about the Romulans basically kind of made peace with their neighbors and stuff, and the galaxy was doing well. I know. No. This leads directly.
I'm sorry. I'll try to.
This leads directly into the next bit, though. Nero, in my version, would be some sort of military commander guy who's pissed off at the idea of peace and says, "Frick it, I'm abandoning all the rules of the High Council. I'm going to get all my army together, and I'm just going to go kill all the Vulcans or some shit because he's just freaking racist that way." So, frick war, or frick peace, we want war. And he's got this incredible technology to do it with because it's been, some genius works for him or something. Mm-hmm. So one of these things is red matter, which you can use to create black holes. If that black hole starts off in the beginning, or in the core of a planet, it'll eat the whole planet. So it's a freaking, Death Star thing. And also, incidentally, you could theoretically use it to go to parallel worlds, which is what's going to happen eventually. Secondly, he has this thing, I'm just calling it the Vorpon Shield. It's just a super cool energy shield around your ship, which is very, very resistant to damage. And so he gets to fly in there and take on 20 ships at once and, stand up against everyone else's armies combined. So Spock gets involved, and there's no star exploding this time, so how is Spock involved? Well, he's a science officer. He figures out, if we get such and such measurements on the Vorpon shield, we can decode the frequency, whatever, and I can send that information back to our phaser banks and then, our capital ships, and then suddenly the shield will not be effective anymore. So he flies in the midst of battle. He has to get really close to the shield and take some detailed calculations and stuff. And he gets the data he needs. He sends it to the ships, and there's some admiral, by the way, I'm going to get to later, who's commanding this whole fleet of ships. Who's I'm going to do let's make him kind of more alien, green skin space babe, except she's an admiral. Why not? You get to do something for once.
An Orion admiral.
Yeah, something like that.
Orion Slave Girl is technically the name of those green skin.
All right, so cool. Orion Girl. So we send the data through, and they recalibrate their phasers, and suddenly, holy crap, they're actually hitting Nero's ship. And Nero is suddenly desperate, and all those things are breaking. So he says, "Frick it, we're launching red matter." And to make a black hole to get us out of this universe as our ultimate escape route type of thing. And because Spock is physically so close to his ship, he gets sucked along for the ride. And everyone winds up in the Betaverse.
Whee!
And then that admiral is all like, okay, everyone, just stay where you are for a second. Don't jump into the black hole.
Do not actually make Spock say we.
No.
I sincerely believe that's there would be lynchings if.
Yeah.
Although here he can say we just totally without inflection, totally in a Vulcan style of I am enjoying myself.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Now, one of the things I want to do is so they want to bring back old Spock to sort of pass the torch of the franchise to this new reboot, which I think is a fine idea. I get it. But let's have him pass the torch and then go away. Like, let's let the new Spock be Spock sort of permanently now, and let's not deal with that weird headcanon, if you the weird, fridge logic, when you realize, hey, wait a minute, old Spock is still around, like, even as of Star Trek Into Darkness. Can't he just inform everybody about all the problems in the galaxy ever? Like, let me tell you about the Borg. Let me tell you about, everything we've ever dealt with. Like, that's gonna mess up your whole universe, man. You can't stay.
I have read, like, one fan fiction where Spock really subtly started doing things like that. Like, he gave time travel coordinates so that they could go back in time to grab the whales from the past. Or he started making peace treaties with different races were troublesome originally.
Yeah.
It was an interesting story, but it was just like a little one shot, just basically him being retired and just going around and being
fixing everything. Yeah,
awesome old man.
So I have first off a universe that was different technically from the get go, and secondly, I want to say, okay, Spock and everyone has to leave and go back to the Alphaverse. So there's a snapback effect to dimensional travel, and basically you can only stay in a foreign universe for, let's say, a week or two before the energy of the universe just sort of sucks you back to your point of origin. All right. Mm-hmm. So this gives Nero a time limit. He knows that in, let's say, 2 weeks or whatever the math turns out to be, he's going to go back to that battle where there's a freaking admiral with like 20 ships all surrounding him, and he's going to die. So he goes, frick this! If I can't blow up Vulcan in my universe, I'll just blow it up in this universe. And his whole crew is on this, like, just frick everything type of feeling because we're going to die anyway. So he goes off to Vulcan and I guess shoots down Spock's ship. And Spock crash lands on that ice world thing, which is not physically inside of Vulcan. I don't know how that works.
My best thought is that they're using 24th century technology and hologram projectors just to really rub it into Spock.
Right. I did that. I imagine.
That was the ice world of Rura Penthe, which features prominently in Star Trek VI, by the way.
So I did figure, like, okay, they contact Spock on the communicator and like, okay, we're gonna broadcast the death of Vulcan to you, just so you know how much we hate you for taking down our shield.
And worse. We're doing it MST3K style! He tried to kill him with a black hole. Huzzah!
Yeah.
There is not enough humor in Star Trek.
Nah, I guess not. So all right. So that's their basic plan. Now we have Kirk. We have our Betaverse Kirk, and he's sort of a slacker who hasn't realized his true potential, sort of thing, like they were going for. And potentially, you can still have that same scene where his dad died when Kirk was a baby, when James T. Kirk was a baby. It just, instead of fighting Nero, he's fighting some Klingons or something. Like this could, right?
No.
Yeah.
If we want to make it really different, have him investigating disappearances of colonies along the Romulan border.
Are we going with Borg on that? Is that where the Borg showed up? I remember the disappearing colony in TNG.
I'm not really sure. It could be the Romulans. It could be the Borg.
Okay.
Let's go with the Romulans for now, just because the Borg is a little more than 23rd century technology can handle.
It's true.
Although, quite honestly, that would still be really cool.
Yeah, maybe we'll just hint.
Though I would love to see Spock taking on Borg drones, just because that would be cool.
Yeah, something we haven't seen. So okay, he you could have the whole his dad died and he's been sort of lost, and wasn't sure what his purpose was in life. What's the guy's name? His mentor, dude, who in the original series previously commanded the Enterprise.
Oh, Pike.
So Pike.
I have an idea to do with the Borg.
All right, to do with the Borg.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting you on this one, but okay, they do this, but what Nero doesn't realize is, well, in the movie, what they don't state, I know, you're going to get used to me saying that, what they don't state is that the Romulan, the Narada, the giant spiky-ass ship of doom, seriously, could they make the ship more intimidating if they tried?
Yeah.
And with less safety railings, seriously. Yeah. But it was made with Borg technology and was made to grow. Mm-hmm. Now, recently I came upon a comic book. No, that's it. I came across a comic book. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
But anyways, a comic book that showed a bunch of scavengers who tried to take over a Borg ship.
Okay.
That they had smashed an asteroid into.
Okay.
So they integrated a lot of that Borg technology into their own ship. Mm-hmm. The problem was that the Borg ship was trying to get back home.
Okay.
And back to proper Borg space so they could effect repairs. Mm-hmm. The scavengers were trying to use the fact that they had taken over a Borg ship as a means of intimidation. Mm-hmm. Until 7 of 9 reset the Borg stuff and it managed to send out a recall signal to the actual Borg.
Okay.
By the time Voyager got away, the rest of the crew was trying to fix their own ship until actual Borg cubes started showing up.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so have this. They're in the Betaverse.
Okay.
Like you said. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't because they were trying to go to a parallel universe.
Oh?
They were trying to create a wormhole.
Okay.
I mean, if we're starting in the Alphaverse, creation of wormholes is shown to be technically possible.
Right.
Both the Bajoran wormhole and the wormhole that we saw in Star Trek, The Motionless Picture.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still calling it that.
Yep.
But anyways, so he was trying to create a wormhole so that he could escape to another part of the galaxy.
Okay, and it went wrong and it took him to a different universe.
But it wasn't supposed to go wrong, according to him.
Of course, yeah.
The Borg technology in his ship, on the other hand, was trying to escape.
Whoa, so was that Borg technology from the Betaverse?
No, it's from the Alphaverse, but it recognizes that if it stays in this particular patch of the universe...
Okay.
So it goes into the Betaverse while still broadcasting its help me broadcast.
Oh, I see. Okay, so regardless of how they got to the Betaverse, the fact is a signal is being sent out once they get there.
Okay. Yeah, so unfortunately what the Borg technology doesn't realize is the snapback effect.
Okay.
Because, quite frankly, there have been parallel universes in Star Trek before, and it hasn't had the snapback
Right, this is effect. A special thingamajig, you know.
Maybe it's like for universes that are sufficiently different.
Right, or sufficiently close, even, because these are kind of close.
Yeah, they have something like that in
They have opposite polarity, whatever.
They had something similar to that in Stargate, where they had an episode where Samantha Carter from another universe came through the quantum mirror, but started to dematerialize because... Well, it was 2 copies of Samantha Carter in the same space.
Right.
But later, they still wanted to have the parallel universe idea, so they had the other copies of people from parallel universes be further out of phase, so they weren't in danger of 2 copies of something.
Right.
Anyways, so these 2 universes are close enough that they can do the snapback thing.
Okay.
Which is why you can go to the mirror universe and you aren't instantly destroyed or something.
Right, yeah.
I mean, more instantly than the fact that everyone in the mirror universe is a bunch of assholes. Yeah. But anyways, so it goes into this and it starts broadcasting a distress signal.
Okay.
For the Borg.
Yep.
It doesn't realize that these aren't its Borg.
Right, but nevertheless, it's going to bring Borg to our doorstep eventually.
That's a good sequel hook for next time. So it starts sending out...
So the second or third movie, the frickin' Borg show up and... Oh, crap!
No, like at the end of the movie, there's a stinger, like a green screen starts flashing red. Recall beacon enabled. Yeah. And then all you see next is like a red dot dancing across the screen. Yeah. And then it slowly rotates and all you see is like... a smoky room with it's like a laser sight through a smoky room,
right.
And it's just this pale face with a red light sticking out of the side.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so none of that directly impacts the rest of this plot, but it would be a cool sequel hook. I'll definitely give you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for the rest of this plot, I was gonna have.
By the way, the thing I tried to say before, if we want this to be a rougher and more rough and ready universe with more weapons and
more violence,
then having Kirk Sr.'s ship destroyed by Romulans would be a perfect excuse.
Because
there's already been a Cold War.
There's been more violence in this history.
So say there was a short war after that started by Kirk's father's death.
Right.
That would also lead to increased weapon manufacture, upgunning their ships.
Yeah, and everything would sort of change from there. So that would be our excuse.
More security checks to make sure that, the Romulans aren't
sneaking around.
Yeah, as Vulcans. Yeah. I was in a role play once where they did that.
Ooh, nice.
One of the characters was secretly a Romulan, but he was posing off as a Vulcan. Mm-hmm. And it could also help with something that I've suspected. Just my personal headcanon.
Yeah.
But the reason that we had, Picard's attitude in The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Remember the episode where the bluegill parasites were the little pink things with the tails growing out of people's necks?
Yeah, they would, get into your spine and control your brain.
Yeah. My personal headcanon for why Picard was so believing in the sensibilities of the Federation and why we don't do violence, we don't need money, we don't do all this stuff that modern people do, and we just despise anyone who does. Blah, 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 blah. 100 years of cultural engineering after James T. Kirk left. After James T. Kirk went on his final mission.
Okay.
The bluegill parasites started invading around that time, working for the Borg to try to soften up Starfleet's defenses so that they would be an easier conquest for the Borg.
That would be a thing. That's kind of creepy. Actually, very creepy, yeah.
Well, they're originally, in the original script, they were going to be working for the Borg.
Right, yeah.
So that's where I got my little
that's where we got
theory.
That.
And Starfleet never really recovered until after the Battle of Wolf 359.
Yeah, when they realized they needed
the Defiant and other ships like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, in this universe, the Bluegills wouldn't be able to get a foothold because of increased security checks to check for Romulans.
So basically, we're not only changing up the movie here, we're writing the whole books of the movie in the background of here's the whole. That'd be pretty cool actually if you're a Star Trek author and someone says, "Hey, look, we've invented this Betaverse and we're really gonna fill it out and we're gonna just play with everything. Hey, you could have a lot of fun."
Indeed.
And then there'd be all the Alphaverse fans versus Betaverse fans and whatever. It'll all work out somehow. Okay, so I was saying we were going to have our Kirk, and his father has died a long time ago, and he's sort of drifting, and then Pike becomes his mentor and challenges him to join Starfleet. So we see Kirk...
You'll never get me to join Starfleet. I triple dog dare you. Oh my... You bastard. Now I can't back out. Yeah. Just like the time I licked that flagpole when it was really cold.
Yes.
And my buddy got the Red Ryder pump-action shotgun.
That'd be interesting. So we see him in the academy and being a badass in some ways and being a lazy student in other ways. And we're going to do this Chekhov's lecture thing, which is, some type of Chekhov's gun. Which is, he's in, shield theory class. And there's this... kind of excitable, eccentric professor is but one of the most interesting hypothetical shield designs is called the Vorpon shield. And he's doing this sketch, it's not even in your textbooks, but wouldn't it be so cool if we could do it like this and that? And we have Kirk sitting there his head is sideways on the desk, I'm so bored, right? But he actually does remember some of this stuff. I'm just imagining what the shield looks like.
I'm just imagining the professor going off into his own little world and describing it. And here's what will happen when I invent it! And it's just a drawing of the professor and the swooning babes.
Yeah.
No.
Pile of money.
Swooning dudes. We're equal.
We're equal opportunity, yeah.
No! Dudes and babes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could do that too. Anyway. So yeah, we basically, we get to, you remember this bit where they were all there's an emergency on Vulcan, but the fleet is engaged, so all the cadets will go man the ships now.
Yeah, that's an unbelievably stupid scene.
Where was the fleet engaged at? But you and I just came up with this other war with Romulans or whatever. Maybe they're engaged over there. That would make more sense.
The fleet's been engaged, and the diamond is fabulous! The wedding's in March. The fleet is all out shopping for dresses. Do you, the Romulan High Council, take the entire Starfleet Navy as your lawfully wedded husbands, wives, and others?
Man, that'd be weird. Okay.
Really?
So we do this bit where they all rush off to the ships and they fly off, and we do the thing where McCoy has to inject him with the thing to make him look like he has a disease to sneak him on the ship and whatever. And then as it happened in the movie, was like, was it Chekhov, I think, reports something about a lightning storm in space, which I don't know why there's a lightning storm in space. Does that just happen anywhere the Narada goes?
Yeah, that didn't make sense.
I didn't get that. Yeah,
the lightning storm in space was indicative of the black hole.
Right, but they came through previously. So in this case, it's we're getting telemetry from the ship that got there first, and here's the recording, and they seem to be using a weird shield technology, and it's like when the laser hits, it like fractures into 100 beams that don't do much or something like that. You know what I mean? And so
it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
The Narada comes through, and they're pissed at the Romulans because the Romulans. Wait, why did they go to the alternate universe again? Why was the Narada in this universe? Was Romulus destroyed in the Alpha universe in this time?
It was not. Nero was mad simply because he didn't want his people to make peace, and he's a genocidal, evil person, and so he went to war. And then had to leave the Alphaverse for the Betaverse because he was getting punked.
Okay, I was thinking for some reason we could concoct a reason why Nero attacks the Romulans in this universe.
Does he attack the Romulans in this universe? Because I had him going straight for Vulcan.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because he hates Vulcans, especially Spock, and Spock screwed up his freaking shield thing.
Well, I'm just spitballing here because Because if we have the Narada coming in and obliterating an entire fleet, and we have there be a war with Romulus going on right now, the Romulans are going to take advantage of that, and they're probably going to steamroll over the Federation defenses if an entire fleet is obliterated by one Romulan ship. Might also cause massive morale problems if it gets out that Romulans have this ultra super duper mega ganga weapon.
Right, though it's not Romulans in general, as it turns out. It's just the Narada.
Yeah, but they don't know that.
They don't know that, so that could cause a panic. It's true, but half of that would happen off screen, I think, if the regular fleet is engaged over that way and Vulcan is this way.
What if?
All right.
And again, it's spitballing here.
Yeah.
The war with the Romulans causes the Federation to form closer ties with the Klingons.
Okay.
So the Klingon Star and the Klingon Empire and the Federation, Klingon ships and Federation ships are seen warring against Romulans later. This would, and by later I mean towards in the second movie.
In the second movie, okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying because the Federation has no other choice because due to the Narada's attack on Vulcan, the loss of most of the Vulcans, and a whole bunch of other things.
Okay, so this could all be in the sequel.
Morale problems,
I get it.
lack of trained cadets, lack of a huge amount of ships.
Yeah.
They're forced to give up territorial concessions to the Klingons, but in exchange, the Klingons will help them out in their wars, and they will get certain technological benefits, like improved shields or warp reactors.
Okay. So this would all form for our second movie then, basically.
Okay.
And then maybe, since Romulans are so sneaky, and since we're traditionally think of Klingons as enemies in this era, the Romulans in the second movie could be attempting to do something to break the alliance between the Federation and the Klingons. And then maybe they succeed or maybe they don't, but it would all be like, hey, let's get these two people fighting.
Okay, but I know this is going to sound
that's the second movie. So here we are. We're not only fixing Star Trek 2009, but all the other subsequent movies. Okay, but so the fleet is engaged, and we go off, and we get the telemetry and the video recording, and look at that shield. That's a weird shield technology. And Kirk down in medbay or whatever sees the thing flashing on the screen and be like, wait, it's a freaking Vorpon shield, and only he would know because he just happened to have this eccentric professor who talks about stuff that's not even in the textbook type of thing.
And heck, he only took that class because he figured it would be an easy A.
Right, yeah.
For some reason.
For some reason. He mixed it up on the forum, Shield theory! I thought this was Babe theory.
I thought this was women's studies. No, this is W. Oman's studies. Master of shield generator design.
W. Oman.
Professor Walter Oman. The Ferengi.
The Ferengi. We should maybe do that.
Yes. Yeah. Walter Oman, the Ferengi. The Ferengi genius at shield design. This needs to be a thing.
That could be a thing. Okay. So he realizes from the visual what it is. He has a scene where he's like running.
Women's studies.
From women's studies. He would totally say that. Like, what, Kirk, what are you babbling about? I learned it in women's studies. I mean, W. Oman, just whatever.
Professor Oman studies.
and then if you remember, Spock was like agreeing with him. Spock, being the super intelligent guy that he is, would understand what Kirk is talking about and being like, oh, I have heard of that hypothetical shield design. He's right. And then they would both be like, Captain, this is, we put on the brakes and let's approach the situation more cautiously, which they do. So then basically, I think most would be the same as far as blowing up Vulcan is concerned, and this whole bit of
keep Sulu scene in where he duels a Romulan with a katana, or a whatever sword he has.
Yeah.
Either way, Sulu did not get enough scenes in the original series.
Yeah.
And he's kind of all of the awesome.
Yeah.
Heck, there's an entire alternate universe where people tried to interfere with the timeline of the Alpha universe, and to do this, they tried to stop peace between the Federation and the Klingons, resulting in the Klingons taking over the universe. Well, the Federation, at least. Almost all of Starfleet is gone, except for the Excelsior, captained by Sulu, which has been fighting the Klingons for over 100 years without stopping. That is awesome.
That's pretty cool. What do you think of that?
Yeah, but anyway, Sulu. Badass.
Sulu badass, and there's a couple of details I'm missing here because I remember they did end up blowing up Vulcan, and Spock lost his mom, and then Kirk gets sent off to the ice world, and I forget exactly why. They were mad at him because he did a thing or disobeyed an order, probably.
Yeah, something like that.
I forgot.
I
whatever.
Why.
Okay, so he gets sent off for whatever that reason was. It probably is still valid in my version.
But
of
have
things.
him do something useful instead of strap him into an escape pod and fire him at Rura Penthe. Since, if memory serves correctly, I don't think Rura Penthe is anywhere near Vulcan.
Yeah, okay, so we would have this whole thing happen on a more reasonably placed planet. Also, as to how, Kirk winds up so close to Spock, and they're both so close to Scotty, even if they're on the same planet, how are they in walking distance of each other? Here's an idea. Scotty is at a base, and when Spock was shot down, he tried to navigate to land as close to the base as possible. Meanwhile, while Kirk is disciplined, they tried to send him to the base. So they wind up in a reasonable, radius of each other. It makes a little more sense. So he meets up with old Spock, and old Spock has now seen the destruction of Alted.
And he's extremely disappointed in the taste of new Spock. But despite all the best efforts, they keep trying to introduce new Spock. No, wait, that's new Coke. My bad.
Yeah. And then it's, okay, we'll do our transwarp thing to get back onto the Enterprise. Now, in order to not frick up the setting, we need to make this transwarp a one-time thing. We cannot have a device that takes people from one planet to another very
Otherwise,
easily.
That's Iconian level technology and could easily disrupt the balance of power.
I mean, why do you need starships anymore? We'll just warp anywhere we need to go.
And hell, if you have an enemy government, all you need to know is the position of all of their homes and beam photon torpedoes into it. Bam! You've won every war ever.
So this should be very
Which
simple.
actually makes sense in Into Darkness why the government pretty much confiscated transport beaming equations.
Yeah. Look, instead of Spock showing up with a generic equation that apparently would transwarp anybody anywhere, how about Spock knows the equations but never says them out loud because he just does them in his head and they're very complicated and it would take a few days to all write it down. He doesn't have time. So he says, let me do these calculations, and he plugs in the raw numbers for this specific trip, one way, this, destination, and this point of origin. And so it's a one-time thing.
Okay.
And so then we get back onto the Enterprise, and we do this bit where Kirk becomes the captain and stuff, and Nero, having blown up Vulcan, wants to now go blow up Earth, because, the Federation was one of his enemies too. So we get into all that, and we fight, and we get some red matter.
And they fight.
And the idea is to smack these guys with some red matter and send them back to their universe. Which we do eventually, and so they get Nero's whole ship gets sucked up by another black hole, sent back to his universe, and then just shows up. And this is the thing: you always have to show up where you left, no matter how much travel you've done in the other universe. So he shows up in the middle of all those ships again, and that one admiral just goes, "Fire!" Boom! Just blows up everything,
No, even better. Nero's first lieutenant looks at him. He hasn't said a word this whole movie.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah. That could be a thing. So then we get our farewell with Spock. All right, and it's a proper, a farewell to that guy, but it's a farewell to the old franchise. This is.
But he has to have his ship back, right?
Yeah, he has his ship back.
Oh, and they got to as repaired as they can.
Jellyfish, yeah.
Repaired as they can, so that it's capable of flight. Because I'm just thinking, if
he snaps back without a ship, yeah.
Yeah, this was the stupidest plan since trying to mind meld with V'ger.
Yeah. So he does it, and what he could have a lovely speech here, a very fourth wall leaning sort of speech where he says, I've been impressed by how similar your world is to mine, but also how different it is. And I know the two of you, talking of course to New Kirk and New Spock, that if you trust in each other, you will find your own adventures, and so on and so forth. And then he would walk up the plank to his ship, turn around one last time, and of course, what does he say? Live long and prosper.
And then he throws a pad. Okay, by the way, here are some threats you should watch out for. You should really keep an eye on these things.
That's true. But with our snapback, it would sort of be like, oh, he only had 5 minutes left. If you thought about it hard, you realize he should have done this, but is less of a head scratcher to it. When, because he would be like, he would shift subtly and then go back to normal and like, oh, we only have 10 minutes left type of thing.
Yeah, but, when he beams them to the Enterprise, is he left behind? Oh, he probably would be so he could repair his ship.
Yeah.
Still, he could probably, make voice recordings while he's working.
He could, theoretically.
I mean, he makes,
But let's just assume everyone was so busy that, they didn't think of it. It's so much easier when the guy's a time limit than he gets to stay here forever, and, 3 years later, he still hasn't thought to tell anybody about the Borg. Really? After 3 years, Okay, so he does his live long... by the way, in the movie, he's all like, since my regular greeting would seem weird, I will just say good luck. He says to his younger self. But isn't that still weird? Because you're still telling yourself to... It's the same meaning. Just use the phrase, Spock. But anyway. He says, live long, prosper, and then...
Live long. He sees Uhura. He'll walk up and kiss new Spock on the cheek. And tap that ass.
Live long and prosper. He snaps back whilst inside his ship. And then you see him, appear back in the Alphaverse battlefield. Nero's ship is, in pieces.
And you see the Admiral... Fire!
No.
No, wrong one! You idiots!
I wanted to see him fly around a bit, and he doesn't say anything else because I want his last words to be live long and prosper. But someone says, oh, we got a message from Mr. Spock. He's all right. He'd like to meet you in your quarters, Admiral. And he's like, fine. So-and-so, you have the bridge. And the Admiral gets on the turbo lift and goes down to her quarters. And then goes... Yeah, green skin space babe Admiral, remember?
I thought you were talking about Spock.
No, the Admiral.
Down to Spock's Kirk.
The Admiral goes down to her quarters.
Spock's quarters.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, whoa, what the hell did that dimensional transition do?
The Admiral, all right.
Hello, Admiral. I'm Spockina.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to hell.
But the Admiral goes down to her quarters and goes inside and stops to look at something on the wall. And we see it's a picture of Kirk, our old Kirk. And she says, you would have been proud. And then she sits at the desk, and it says, Jaina D. Kirk. And it's Kirk's granddaughter, his son shacked up with a space babe or something. We don't even know, but it's actually a descendant of our Kirk. Wouldn't that be a cool moment? And then, Spock walks in at the very end of that scene, And that would be a neat way to include Kirk in the story without having to mess with, okay, technically he's dead because they dropped a bridge on him. He could have a descendant, whether through his son or through he's slept with enough women, I presume.
Yeah.
That somebody could be his descendant and could be, this new Admiral, and that'd be awesome. And they're green-skinned in the meantime, and that's even more awesome. And then, we have our basically our conclusion at the end with the Betaverse, New Kirk and New Spock, and they're gonna go 5-year mission, and isn't this cool? And McCoy's there too.
Oh, and after the credits, there's a teaser. There's a teaser. It's strange. The whole time that ship was in this universe, it kept broadcasting a subspace message, an extremely powerful one. I don't even know where it was directed. It appeared to be directed
at the other side of the galaxy or whatever.
And then we show it zooming out and zooming in towards the core of the galaxy, and it whips by and this is black holes and not quasars.
Stars.
Stars and pulsars and nebulas.
Yeah.
And like maybe even like catching glimpses of ships going by really quickly until it zooms in on a single gray planet with like geometric lines covering it, zooming into a single panel in a single room, and it starts flashing, and then
the eye. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool to lead into either the second and or the third movie. So what did we accomplish here? So we had we didn't erase any continuity really. We had Spock show up, but then he left permanently, so as to A, give Leonard Nimoy a vacation, and B, don't mess up the whole universe if there's a guy who could potentially tell you everything. We clarify what Nero is about. We got rid of the exploding star that didn't make sense unless you know about these other people that no one knows about. And we set up a bunch of stuff for second and or third movie.
Okay.
See? So we gotta get working in Hollywood and tell these people how to fix their scripts.
Okay, what would the second movie? The second movie would be about. Okay, first off, if we're doing a second movie in this series, first thing we would do, drop the Khan thing. Look,
drop the Khan thing.
Khan was a wonderful villain.
Yeah,
he was probably the single most effective villain in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
With the possible exception of the Borg.
Yeah. The kind of that personal thing. A Khan versus Kirk. They even start with the same letter. Isn't that cool?
Khan versus Kirk.
Yeah.
So drop Khan. I mean, I would love to see Khan if redone properly. But one, it's... cannot match. Benedict Cumberbatch is not Ricardo Montalban.
No, he's not.
He's not, and he doesn't bring the same gravitas, the same.
Well, I could respect them as being two different versions of the same character. Personally, it was like two different doctors to me from Doctor Who.
Okay, yeah, I could do that, but just the Khan that I knew was this slightly over the top villain who is at the core. Yeah, he was over the top, but you take him seriously because not only he wouldn't crush your head between his hands. That's too unrefined for him. Instead, he'll drop mind control slugs into your brain that will make you do whatever you say. That's friggin' scary. Sure, one kills you. The other
makes you betray all your friends.
No, the other one makes you wish you were dead.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, when I saw Into Darkness, I was like, oh my gosh, Khan! Like, I was totally spoiler free. I thought it was pretty cool. But I can also see the perspective of like, don't just redo the past. We got to do something new here. And with our sort of complex Klingon, Romulan, Federation, all at once war type of deal, is pretty interesting place to go. Might as well go there. I would be fine exploring the theme of Federation corruption that they had in Into Darkness and do that a bit more, maybe, or a bit more complex,
I didn't really see it as Federation corruption, more of ideals misplaced.
Right. What is it? Well-intentioned extremist type of thing.
Yeah, honestly, I approved completely of most of Admiral Cartwright's decisions. Not Cartwright. That's a guy from
whatever his name was.
What was the name of Kirk's wife?
I don't know.
Whatever the Admiral Crazy von Crazingtons. I honestly approved of the creation of the Dreadnought class of vessels. Honestly, because I'm a Deep Space Nine fan. I'm a fan of Babylon 5. I'm perfectly aware that no matter how good your intentions are, you can be the most pacifistic race in the heavens. But at the same time, that you extend the velvet glove, you must also make sure to have a steel gauntlet.
Speak softly and carry a big stick, as Roosevelt put it.
Precisely. Just because you're peaceful doesn't mean you can't be very, very good at waging war. And, especially in a universe that's trying to be darker and grittier, a universe where Vulcan is gone, I approved of the idea of using people's talents to try to make the Federation stronger, even if it might step on a few toes.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Now, granted, he definitely should have. The thought of using Khan to make weapons for him was pretty freaking stupid.
Yeah.
And the thought of holding his family hostage, also pretty freaking stupid.
Yeah, well, how about then if we actually did explore corruption in a more corruption sort of way? Like, what if we hear the ideals of the Federation and that everyone under our umbrella is treated as equals, and then there are people totally willing to, sacrifice those people in favor of my group of people. Like, I'm from an old Earth family. And that's like, blue-blooded sort of a deal. And those people, those are outer world.
Well, we mean figuratively blue-blooded.
Yeah, no, figuratively. I'm sorry, yeah.
Spock has green blood, and then there are the Bolians. And...
Yeah, I mean, like, so you could say, oh, those are outer world colonists. They don't matter, and I'm just gonna, frick them and not gonna defend them in this war.
Interesting.
And then Kirk could be like, no, frick this. We defend everyone. We are the Federation, and we help all the species under our umbrella.
Tad idealistic. My thought was. And the alliance with the Klingons is rankling to some people.
Yeah.
Especially since, well, let's face it, the Klingons are best described as space-age barbarians combined with frat boys.
Yeah.
With a murder boner. They like to dress up their various ideals in the terms of honor when in reality they're just a bunch of murdering scuzzbuckets. Honestly, I never got why the Ferengi were so despised when the Klingon society, in my opinion, was just as bad, if not worse.
I don't know. There is something to their honor thing. And for
Worf's the only one who really believes in it. Everyone else seems...
Yeah, maybe. There's something to be said there. Worf, though, gives you that impression of honor in a way that makes sense. And he has a different cultural perspective about the need to face battle and stuff, but you can still get it that he's a good guy.
But part of that reasoning is because he didn't grow up in that society.
Right.
He was raised on Earth, and he grew up to idealize that society, so he follows the idealistic version of the Klingon.
Right. Well, you could potentially have schisms among the Klingons, and some of this the more evil side and kill everybody, and some the more actual honor side. And you could have, some Klingon guys go kill their own superiors or something because that guy was about to do something evil,
Okay, but anyways, my thought is the alliance with the Klingons is rankling, especially since we need the Klingons' help in order to keep the Romulan forces at bay.
Right.
And heck, even throw in a few references to the original series, like, say, at some colony where they encountered the Romulans, that this is where we're holding the line currently.
Right.
Okay, so have the Romulans exploit that, work on fears inside of the Federation and the
one versus another. So if you were doing that, you'd probably want a Worf-like character, a sympathetic Klingon in our cast somewhere, not necessarily a member of the ship, but someone we would get to know as the audience, and then Kirk and Spock and the crew would get to know in their own context.
Have it be a young Chancellor Gorkon.
Oh, young, who is that? That sounds good, but who's that?
Oh, okay, we need to watch Star Trek 6.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've not seen Star Trek 6.
Yeah, but Star Trek 6, Star Trek 6 starts out with the Klingons' moon of Praxis exploding because the Klingons suck at everything.
Okay.
And because of this, the Klingons have decided to approach the Federation with a peace initiative so that they end the war between them. Which is confusing because, as Linkara pointed out, the Organians, a very advanced, higher evolved species, were supposed to be preventing the two from going to war because...
Okay, there's no Organians in the Betaverse, so we're set.
Okay, but anyway.
Yeah.
No, I'm just explaining the Alphaverse.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Chancellor Gorkon is this idealistic, future-looking leader of all the Klingon people.
Mm-hmm. And he's willing to have peace with the Federation.
He's willing to negotiate a treaty with the Federation to end the conflict, and in return the Federation will help evacuate the Klingon homeworld and or help it get better because we see the Klingon homeworld just fine in the Next Generation, so I don't even know what is the hell.
Yeah.
Anyways, he doesn't get much screen time because he's, spoilers.
Okay.
But anyways, show him as a young man, like one who's working his way up the chain of command. Have him be the ambassador.
Yeah, or a ambassador anyway, yeah. And so he would be pleading for, like, no, the Klingons and humans can make peace, and they'd be kind of maybe racist on both sides. They were like,
no, we can continue the alliance. Because they're technically already at peace.
Yeah, he would plead for them to keep peace during times when there's tensions and people are talking about breaking the alliance. And he would say, no, there is good in both our peoples. And we would be uncovering a Romulan conspiracy to make both sides blame each other type of thing. And at the end of the day, I guess we would, they should probably break the alliance halfway through this movie just so we can see the two sides fight, because that's kind of what they classically do. Yeah. But then by the end of it, we uncover the conspiracy, and whoever's corrupt in Klingon or human side of things, or Federation side of things, we get rid of them, we expose them, whatever, and then both sides come back and make an alliance again.
And then in like this climactic ship battle, just the two sides just obliterate a Romulan war fleet.
Yeah. No, because the Romulans they'd be in cloak, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so the two sides would come together as if the negotiations had failed.
Yes.
And like, okay, we're arming our torpedo. We're going to kill you. Oh, we're going to kill you. We're going to. And then everybody turns 90 degrees and fires at the Romulans because they'd like gotten some secret. They intercepted a message about where their location would be, so they could shoot at them even if they're cloaked, right? If I'm just sitting there like, this is working. Everyone turns at you. Shoot everything. Oh, crap. That would be a great scene, man. Especially if there's this one Romulan commander that we all really hate. Like, oh my god, that could be the guy who killed Kirk's dad. Or like...
Set it up that way in the first movie.
Yeah. And then just like... And Kirk himself would just be like... freaking that guy over,
I'm just seeing him hovering over the photon torpedo button.
Or possibly just teleports over and freaking, like, stabs him.
He doesn't even use the transporter. His hate just propels him through space. Imagine Data from Nemesis, like, launching himself out the airlock. I'm just seeing Kirk doing that, and the Warbird, like, what is that spot? Oh my god, turn around and run!
No, that'd be awesome. Because remember, there was the big space jump scene from Into Darkness.
Have that, except
it's him going for that one Romulan bastard who killed his dad.
Oh, even better. He has two phaser rifles with him, dual wielding them and firing them into the ship. It makes no sense, but it's awesome.
Well, and the thing is,
there's a single human attempting to ram us and shooting at us with hand phasers.
Ramming speed.
And oh, son of a... Why does he have a photon torpedo launcher? No, I'm serious. In the game Star Trek Elite Force, you can get a handheld photon torpedo launcher.
Wow.
It is the most awesome weapon in the game.
Wow. Yeah, and that would be so cool because we would have already, by this point, we would have done a lot of much more nuanced political stuff, pleading for peace, uncovering a conspiracy, getting our peoples together. Kirk might be tempted to shoot some Klingon, and then he has to, step down in the name of peace, and okay, fine, I'll, forgive you or something for something, or realize that the guy wasn't guilty in the first place. And so after we've had all that subtlety, then we get the catharsis action, frick that one guy scene, Just everyone pile on that one guy. And Kirk eventually just, hits him with the phaser bolt or something. That sounds like a fun scene. And then maybe number 3 is when the Borg show up.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, I was thinking how was this for an opening scene. Over the course of the war between the Romulans and the Federation, they've managed to uncover certain artifacts, including cloaking devices. So Federation devices are starting to get equipped with cloaking devices.
Oh, okay.
But it's due to how difficult it is to manufacture them. For Federation, there aren't many, and they're mostly used for like espionage, Section 31 stuff.
Right. Or maybe they only have a time limit or things like that could make them less useful than the regular cloaking device. If you felt like it.
Heck, you could it could have a sort of radiation that's harmful to most species that aren't Romulans or Vulcans.
Yeah, that could be a thing.
That was a thing in Stargate when there was a certain type of cloaking device that was really, really awesome, but it emitted radiation.
Yeah.
Of course, the reason for that was so it would repel aliens that lived in that dimension, but
whatever.
But anyways, so there's a cloaked Starfleet observation post watching over this planet.
Okay.
It's And it's kind of an espionage post, like listening in on major
communications
from the Romulan front.
Yeah.
And it's been noted, we start off and we note, oh yeah, they've been dying out coreward recently. Transmissions have been dying out towards the core of the galaxy, in the direction of the core of the galaxy. And then all of a sudden, suddenly the ship rocks, and we don't ever see what's going on outside. And like people are wondering, what's going on? My God, it's gigantic! It's colossal! It's and suddenly, like, you can hear a tractor being locked onto the hull, and it just starts shaking wildly.
So the Borg saw through their cloak, did they?
Yeah, because they're the Borg.
Okay, just making sure.
And the last you hear of it is just the sounds of phaser fire. And the sound of, like, a phaser fire hitting a Borg shield that's already been tuned to phaser fire.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, we send the Enterprise back into the swing of things.
All right.
And it's going off to investigate a bunch of colonies along the front lines have started going dark, but there have been no traces of debris or any sort of Romulan
the sort of
energy
TNG
signature.
slow intro to the Borg.
And we investigate these colonies, and some of them, they're just gone. Others, they're just mostly gone. It is like dead, but only mostly dead. I love the Princess Bride.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so in one, they find these individuals who are utterly terrified out of their mind. They're firing their disruptor bolts directly into the woods. And Kirk is like, don't worry, we're here to... And it's a group of Klingons and Romulans working together because they're just so scared out of their minds.
Yeah.
I mean, Klingons aren't supposed to be scared. They're supposed to be, oh, I am brave and courageous and honorable.
Yeah,
but that just underlies how dangerous this threat is.
Yeah.
And it would be a bit like Predator for the next scene. It would be this, like, tense battle. Like, occasionally someone would go missing.
Yeah.
You hear screams in the darkness. And then at the end of it, Sulu finally stabs out and finally catches the monster and cuts its head off. A Borg head.
Dun dun dun. Yeah.
And that's when the Borg cube finally drops out of warp, and they have to beam everyone back onto the ship, and they start running for their lives.
I could see that. Now, if we're gonna do Borg, one thing I would really like to do is to play up the weirdness of their psychology. You know the movie War Games?
Yeah.
Where, spoilers, what's so awesome there is there's a computer that like controls all the U.S. nuclear missiles, you know, to act as sort of a backup in case the humans won't do it properly. And they're trying to convince the computer not to nuke Russia because it's decided now is a good time to do that. And in any other movie, what you would have to do is like break into the secure area and just like lob some grenades into the computer core or something.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
But what they did in this game, because it was originally the computer was developed to just play games, just generally chess and things like that. So they log into the thing and they say, okay, play tic-tac-toe against yourself and activate learning mode. And the thing plays a billion games of tic-tac-toe against itself and realizes that you can't win. It's all cats games all the time. And by doing that, it learns the concept of futility and applies that concept to nuclear warfare and realizes even with the perfect nuclear strategy, the Russians will still kill all of us. And so, the famous line, strange game or interesting game, the only winning move is not to play. And it was so clever. You're like, they didn't just kill the computer. They talked to it. They did something weird with the way it thinks. And you wouldn't use the same thing with the Borg, but I want that sense of, at least at some point, I mean, you can have plenty of battles and shooting them and stuff, but at some point you want to do something really clever. They're like, the Borg would have never seen this coming because they just don't think that way, you know? I don't know what that is exactly. I don't think of that yet.
Don't let people wander around your spaceship.
Yeah, they do have a thing for that.
I guess one of the first things that always it's mocked in every Star Trek fanfic I've ever read.
Yeah.
The Borg did not understand why Grand Admiral Thrawn was so adamant that they not let intruders wander around their spaceships.
Yeah. Or what I mean, they did a thing with Hugh once in TNG where they were like, you know, programmed him with a virus. Well, the idea was to program with a virus and then like upload that to the collective. You could do a weird self-sacrifice with that, actually. Ooh. Someone could come up with a mind virus thing, like he just memorizes it, and he's like staring at these like lines of logic that don't make sense to a Borg consciousness or something, and allows himself to be assimilated, so that concept will be uploaded to the hive mind, and then they'll try and figure it out, and like they all start, having a seizure or whatever.
Ooh, idea.
Yeah.
Okay, do that, but have the whole thing be kind of like a submarine warfare, really tense stuff. Like, it's all down in like the depths of this nebula that blocks transmission, so the Borg can't communicate back with the hive mind.
Okay.
But so it's all self-contained in this little area.
Okay.
There's like a planet and stuff, so there's stuff at stake. You can have some ground fighting.
Sure.
You can have some ships coming in and out, but the Borg want the Enterprise for some reason.
It's the biggest, most powerful ship around.
Right, and it has the most advanced technology in the fleet.
Sure.
Okay, so they want it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have this person do the self-sacrificing thing.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is after the whole movie goes on.
Yeah.
But, so the self-sacrifice thing basically destroys the cube. But it doesn't get transmitted back to the collective.
Okay.
So, the Borg have lost a cube. Mm-hmm. Okay? So they know something's out there. But they're not going to go out there until they're sure they can win.
Okay.
But at the same time, we get a taste of exactly how powerful the Borg are. And at the same time... how dangerous they are, even in limited quantities. Plus, we get a noble sacrifice.
Now, the question is, so the rest of the Borg are just staying in their space because they didn't receive report back from their probe, essentially? Actually, you could kind of do a thing with that. If the Borg have been super successful thus far on their march across the galaxy, there could be a notion that our ships are never destroyed. And so they send the ship out into Nebula, area, or whatever, and it never comes back, and they figure, they're just late. We'll just wait for the transmission, like a computer program. Just like, we're just waiting for, transmission. And we're all sitting there, like, we're all aware there's this huge fleet over there. But like, oh, wait, they're still waiting for the transmission. They're still waiting for the report from, I guess we'll just walk away. Like the end of The Birds with Alfred Hitchcock. You ever seen that?
I have not seen that.
Okay, very brief. The Birds is about every bird in the world goes insane and starts killing humans. For no reason. But it works for a great movie. And the end of it is... all the birds just stop and they just stare at like this, one remainder family that we've been following the whole movie, and they get in the car and drive away, and just the birds are just staring at them, and you're like, there's that sense of danger, but I guess we're okay for now type of thing. So there's the fleet like on our sensors right over there of Borg cubes, but they're waiting for the transmission from the
I was more going for the fact that the Borg tend to send only one cube to do anything.
Yeah, that's true too. I know, I just kind of like that Birds idea. Because they would leave them very powerful, but we've solved the crisis for now type of a feeling is what I was going for.
Unless they have like a Borg drone that they captured outside the nebula, like as a probe, and they're able to tell it, you are safe for now. We will return in greater numbers.
Oh yeah, that could happen too.
And then like the Borg self-destructs because the Borg do that.
That could happen. So yeah, okay. So we made Star Trek 2009, and then we had a huge Klingon Romulan revenge tale in number 2, and then we had the Borg in number 3. I think we did a pretty good lap around Star Trek here.
Yeah,
a lot of the coolest things are all brought together. Gotta make some movies.
Indeed.
And then Picard shows up somehow.
No,
yeah.
No, dude, the dude, did you leave the dude alone? He already did Nemesis. What more can we do?
What more can we do? I just love the idea of Picard. He's like just so unique in his being such a gentleman, but he's also a capable warrior. He's so intellectual, but he's deals with the practical matters at the same time. It's very reasonable authority figure. He's not like arrogant like say a Han Solo, or he's not like naive like
early TNG. He was a little arrogant and naive.
Maybe he was, yeah. Well, I'm thinking of him from his glory days.
Glory days. Da, 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 yeah, that's all I know of the song.
But I think that's what we got to say about remaking Star Trek for now. Oh, one random note. Make your teleporter, your transporter, analog rather than digital. You know, where technically it like takes you into a you're stored as data as on a computer at one point.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about that, they should be able to copy that file and make as many copies of you as they like.
Clone Wars!
Or make as many copies of whatever material they like. So it should be like an analog thing, so to speak, where they're drawing a space bubble around this spot and that spot, and they swap them. But at no point are you digitized as a computer file, because if you do that, then the problem I just mentioned pops up.
Well, they should do that, like, eventually. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have replicator technology. That's essentially...
They have replicators, but that would only work, you know, to a certain degree of complexity. I'm just saying, this is a little thing that bugs me. Like, technically, if you are a computer file, we should be able to make 100 Picards whenever we want to.
Heck, you know, you make a backup copy of yourself every time you're about to go on an away mission, and then, like, as soon as you die, you back you up. And
yeah, I read a book about that.
Hey, guys, how's it going? Oh, I died again. Damn it.
Yeah, see, that stuff is weird. Also, the idea that warp 10 is the universal speed limit type of thing, I would have just been like, the higher warp you go, the more it burns out your engines, and eventually your engines will explode. And 10 is like the, you know, rule of thumb speed limit, but whatever type of thing.
Yeah, makes more sense than Voyager's freaky salamander sex thing.
Yes, it makes everything makes more sense than Voyager's freaky salamander sex thing.
Yeah, point.
Honestly, the Star Trek: The Motionless Picture would have been more interesting if their Voyager had a freaky salamander sex thing, though it wouldn't have made any more sense.
Well, quite frankly, you know, hitting myself in the face with a hammer would be more interesting than Star Trek: The Motionless Picture.
Yeah. Not recommended at home though, or anywhere else. So.
Oh, one story I did read. It was like a crossover between Firefly and Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't know why, but your comment of making copies of people somehow triggered it in me. Q is bugging Picard for some reason. He said, "You know what? I'm feeling good. I'll give you a wish." And he said, "Okay, you want to know what I wish?" "Yes." And Q's hoping for like riches or power, you know, all the good stuff. He says, "Bring back all the people that were killed as a result of the Borg attacking me in Q Who." Well, he says the incident where we first met the Borg, but you know what it means. And he's like, "Really? Really? That's all you're wishing for?" "Yeah, do it." And so he does. But doesn't really bring them back to life. He plucks them out of time from like an instant before they were supposed to have died, and plants them all on the bridge, including one woman who is naked because, well, she was in the shower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this Picard's like, "Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, you're not getting out of this that easily." And then Q sends him into the fire.
Into the what?
Into the Firefly universe, where he has to stop the Reavers because of reasons.
Wow, that's a thing.
Well, it's actually it's much better than what I'm describing.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
You can find it on the TV Tropes page for fanfic recommendations for Firefly.
All right. But yeah, we just redid all of Star Trek. I think it's really cool.
We redid all of the beta universe.
Redid, yeah. I'm gonna stop saying this phrase because I keep tripping over it. We did good.
Us did goodly.
Yay! All right, is that about it?
That's about it.
Okay.
I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're signing off.